The only sites that pertain to World War II here are maybe sites where victory gardens were planted, or some of the old plants where the ammunition or armaments was manufactured. But in general, any artifact that can help tell a story is worth, whether it's a Roman artifact or whether it's a World War II artifact. So, and I've got a good story about finding some here in Shreveport, and they weren't in the ground, but they could have been in the ground. And this is a lesson for everybody to always be on the lookout for pieces that are important to history. And I have an agreement with the city. Sometimes properties will go into disrepair. They're called adjudicated properties, where the city has to actually take care of them. Well, these properties are in areas of town that aren't necessarily desirable. So the houses are run down. They're a fire risk. A lot of times they're dangerous because homeless people will get in them and build fires. So before they tear them down, I want to be there, because after they tear them down, I get to look under the house and see. And another fascination is to see the house be deconstructed or torn down, because it allows me to look and see how the house was constructed. You know, the plaster, the lat works and all that, and the foundations. I'm in particularly fascinated with the foundations and the brickworks and stuff. So not only do I have an agreement to be there to witness it, but I also get about 15 or 20 minutes to go through the house. And 99% of the time, the house is wrecked. You know, it's full of trash. It's full of some pretty nasty stuff. If you can imagine. I'll spare the details on that. But I always try to look in. I'm 6'2", so I can look up into things that people normally can't get a bird's eye view into. But in this particular house, I looked in a closet on the top shelf, and there was a huge Army duffel bag, one of those big green long bags. So I sprayed some bug spray back there, and kind of gave it a minute, because I didn't want to reach into a big black widow's nest. So I gave it a minute and went back inside. I think I had about a minute left. So I pulled out this huge duffel bag full of World War II pins, patches, insignias, apparently at the time I thought this guy definitely was in the war. But this couldn't be all his patches. You can't wear thousands of patches and pins. So come to find out, the owner of the house had been in the military. He had 3 other brothers that were also in the military. And then he just developed this passion for collecting military patches and pins and stuff. So once we got it back home, I couldn't bring it into the museum at the time, because you can't bring something into a museum that hasn't been quarantined and stuff, because you don't want to bring outside contaminants into a museum. So I took it home and I went through it. It's okay to contaminate your home, but not a museum, of course. So, but once I went through it and got everything, disinfected and everything, I brought it up to the museum, and that's when we started realizing that we had a treasure trove of important pieces from World War II. And the rest is history.